Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Dave King will step up his search for a director of football and a first team coach after yesterday's 2-1 loss for Rangers at Dundee. Malky Mackay outlines why the return of reserve team football will benefit homegrown players. And Celtic want one, but its heart's getting a new pitch laid this week. Yep, that's just a few of the talking points. We'll look back over the weekend results, get the thoughts of Alan Rough, and on a Monday night, our bookroom guest, as ever, is Mark Guidi here to join us to talk football. Let's cut to the chase and discuss, first of all, the Rangers situation. Dundee, great credit to them. They won by 2-1. Ruffy, in the end, were they deserving of it?
Yeah, I think so. I think Paul Harley set his stall out to get in about Rangers right from the beginning. Excuse me, it worked. They got the goal quite early on. I like the boy O'Hara. I think he's definitely one for the future as well. But all credit to them. You know, I thought they worked right from start to finish. Even when Rangers scored, it didn't let them phase them at all. They just saw the game out.
Rangers now 6 points behind Aberdeen, 30 points behind Celtic. Mark Guidi, in the end, the result merely accelerates. I think Dave King and the board need to get this director of football and manager in as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it just hammers home the urgency of the situation, Peter, where they could lose out in second place in the league, which wouldn't be acceptable, and to be sitting coming towards the end of February 30 points behind Celtic, it's not acceptable by any manner of means, and the Rangers players should really be embarrassed about the current situation. But now the attention turns to Dave King. What does he do? Does he try and do something for the next 9 or 10 weeks in terms of putting in a temporary guy with a view to maybe getting it permanently? Or does he try and get the guy in just now? I think the director of football and the head coach is a structure that you can't rush. You know, you're as well waiting a couple of months to get it right for the next 3 or 4 years rather than diving into it to try and save the next 10 weeks. So it's a difficult one for the board, but I'm sure after watching the performance in the first 45 minutes yesterday and the result, and now how the league table lies, that they might want to do something short term.
Yeah, and talking about that performance, Graham Murty, the interim boss, had no excuses.
Not really easy to put into words, the emotions that are going through not just myself but all the players as well. We have to be better. We know that that's not acceptable for this football club. The players know that, I know that, and we'll take this one on the chin and get ready to move on, but be in no doubt that is not acceptable. The players were fully prepared, ready to go, and they know what it means when you pull the shirt on, that you're going to have to expect to fight in a battle, and you have to more than match that, and I've been honest with them. I didn't think they did that for 45 minutes.
Sometimes when you get a situation where a club has everybody watching what they're doing, and the other team that wins tends to be overlooked, Ruffy, but great credit to Dundee. Paul Hartley's trying to get them into the top 6. No surprise that the Dundee manager has mentioned that they need to keep going with these performances on the back of that Rangers one.
That's the challenge for our guys, is that can't be a one-off because it was Rangers today. That has to be like that every week now, from now until the end of the season. We've given ourselves a chance to be in the top 6. It's so tight, everybody's jostling to try and get in there. You know, we're still looking over our shoulders. We'll not get too carried away, but the players can be happy tonight.
I think that gives them a major boost for any thoughts of being involved in a playoff. I can't see them being involved in any playoff or relegation.
Not on yesterday's performance. I thought they were superb, you know. But I think the disappointment of just missing out in the top 6 last year, it hurt them really badly. He thought they were good enough to be in there, and I think if they were to miss it this year, he would just be really, really upset about it. But no, I think the confidence of that result yesterday should keep them in the top 6.
And just off the back of the director of football comments from Mark Ruffy, Robert Rowan, Brentford's head of football operations, is one man that's been mentioned with the job. I think reports suggest that he's already been talked to by some members of the Rangers board. I think he'll be one of a number of people they'll try to sit down and talk with this week.
Yeah, I think they have interviewed a lot of people. They have to act very very quickly. Mark's right, you know, that they have to make the decision, is it now or later? Sometimes it's very difficult, if it's now, to get the two people that you really want. So unless they are working overtime behind the scenes, we'll just have to wait and see who that is.
Yep, okay. Let's move on to Celtic. You mentioned they're 30 points clear. It was 31 games undefeated now. I think the one thing that sticks in most people's mind from the 2-0 win over Motherwell, Mark, was the tackle from the Motherwell player Ryan Bowman on Kieran Tierney. It could have been a really nasty one. It could have, you know, left him out for a number of months again.
Yeah, it was a sore one. It should have been a red card, but the referee deemed a yellow to be enough. But thankfully, Kieran Tierney, who's already had a bad injury this season, had a leg break 3 years ago. So, no, it's credit to him that he's back up on his feet. And I'm sure that Ryan Bowman will actually be relieved that he's not caused any serious harm. And the last thing that Motherwell needed, again, is another red card controversy. So, he's been a lucky boy.
Yep. I mentioned to you at the weekend, Ruffy, just Real Madrid, yet another name added to the list of suitors for Dembele.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the Champions League. Everybody remembers what he did against Man City, and he was good in the other games as well. But I think it's a big test for him in the next championship coming up, if he is still there. But certainly, I think he's done enough, you know, to command at least a £30 million tag.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Edinburgh Derby shortly, and of course Hearts' quest for a new pitch after the complaints from Ian Cathro. Just a word on Aberdeen. Derek McInnes has mentioned it's the resilience of this side that was on show and in evidence against the Kilmarnock team that looked as if 7 or 8 minutes before the end of the game we're going to get 3 points.
Yeah, I felt for Kilmarnock, Peter. They did put in a good shift defensively. Lee McCulloch had them well organised. You could see that they were drilled, and they gave, you know, absolutely everything, and a bit cruel in terms of deflection for one of the goals. Terrible defending from Miles Addison. You know, he's just got to clear that. A man of his experience should just be putting that into Rose Ed. However, you're right, for Derek McInnes, that's a I mean, you look at that 180 minutes yesterday, you know, all of a sudden there's now a 6-point gap. Rangers lose, Aberdeen score twice the last 6 or 7 minutes. So there's no doubt that Derek McInnes will be absolutely delighted with his week's work, and sets him up nicely. And now that they're in second spot, I don't see them giving that up, Peter. I think they'll be there to stay. Yeah,
and strangely enough, it's 6 points, Ruffy, but the goal difference is well in favour of Aberdeen as well in this race for second.
Yeah, I know Hearts only drew the weekend there, but I think it's Hearts that Rangers should be worried about. You know, the Rangers can't afford to go into that 4th place. You know, Hearts are now, all right, they drew at the weekend, but that gap has closed as well. So, you know, I think Rangers should be concentrating and holding on to 3rd place. It's a European position. Slip to 4th and it's disaster.
Yeah. What did you make of Hearts, Mark? I know you watched the game at the weekend. Ian Cathro wasn't complimentary about the pitch. He wanted it relayed. That's happening this week. And I think in the summer, I think they'll relay it again and try and get this new hybrid mix of synthetic and, you know, your normal soil.
Yeah, the pitch is not great, Peter. It's not conducive to good football, free-flowing football. When you buy ball players, you want the ball on the deck, you want it to zip around. Hearts weren't able to do that on Saturday. However, credit to Inverness. You know, Richie Foran said after the game that was the old Inverness team back, and he was right. You know, Billy Mackay's back at the club, gives him that experience. Lionel Cole played well, and in defence, Louis Lang and young Jamie McCart, first time that they played together, and a real solid partnership. So Richie Foran's got decisions to make ahead of Friday night, big game at home to Rangers.
Yeah, and of course Ian Cathro says that he feels as if the side have got, there's an air of confidence about them now going into this derby. It's a sellout at Easter Road, Ruffy.
Yeah, well, I would like to have thought he would have wanted to go into the game with a win behind his back, particularly at home. I mean, but fortunately for Hearts, Hibs weren't that impressive at the weekend either. It might be just the situation that players take their eye off the ball, thinking they don't want to get injured for that game. They want to make sure they're fit to play in it, and I think it'll be an absolute cracker.
Yep, I think Hibs are going to edge it, Mark.
Well, I fancied Hearts the first game. I thought I might edge it, but now, yeah, I'd probably swing towards Hibs. But Peter, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to penalty kicks on Wednesday night.
Yeah, I think it could go all the way. I don't think it'll go to penalty kicks, but I think it could be maybe a winning goal in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. don't want it to go to penalty kicks. That's a long time to spend with one of your mates in Edinburgh. Anyway, apart from anything else, really looking forward to going to Easter Road. Join us after the break, where we will discuss how Malky Mackay is outlining the plans to get Scottish football back on track. But I'll leave you with this question. The last time Dundee defeated Rangers at Dens was some 25 years ago. Yeah, there's your answer. Billy Dodds scoring the winner in a 4-3 win for Dundee at Dens against Rangers back in 1992. Rangers went on to win the league in that year as well. So we were talking about the Edinburgh Derby, which takes place on the Wednesday of this week. But there was a couple of other games that I think I want to get your thoughts on. Most notably, Hibs, who are going into the Derby off the back of a tongue lashing from the manager, Neil Lennon, Ruffy.
Yeah, he said he'd calmed down a wee bit and he was going into the dressing room, you know, and trying to be nice and calm with everybody. But in the heat of the moment, you know, when you think you should be winning a game quite comfortable and you're behind, you just lose the plot a wee bit. But it just shows you, you know, how determined he is to win games, and the disappointment of just not getting 3 points. But he'll be up for it for the Hearts game anyway. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's when you look at there might be a division between them, but I think this transition and the experience of Neil Lennon is where I think a lot of Hibs fans are feeling confident that they can take something from this game and avoid the dreaded exit from the Cup, especially as they are the Cup holders, Mark.
Yeah, you're right, and I would think that Hibs would go into the game just slight favourites, home advantage, the crowd. You're right, the experience of, you know, being the cup holders. They're a division apart, but I don't think they're a division apart on the field. You know, I don't think there's much between them, as the first game at Tynecastle showed. So look, there's plenty to play for. I think it'll be a cracker. I think both sets of players know that they didn't produce the goods in the first game, so there'll be plenty to make up for under the floodlights Wednesday night, cup replay. And the other thing as well, Peter, a home draw against Ayr United to get into the semi-final for the winner. So, you know, there's lots at stake.
Yeah, you wouldn't put it against Hibs after waiting 114 years, nabbing back-to-back trophies, Robbie. I mean, you and I were at the Hampden Museum this morning. We were looking, and there's the Scottish Cup. It only gets taken out twice in the year, we were told by one of the curators there. And there, we just looked at the little silver tab, and it said Hibernian.
Yeah, it would be incredible, you know, to win it back to back after the time that it's taken to win it. But I really do think Hibs are concentrating on winning the championship. I think that this year the Scottish Cup would be a bonus, you know, but I think they want to be back in the big time.
Yeah, so you just sacrifice that against Hearts then, Ruffy?
No, if we get to the semi-final.
Oh, is it we now? Yeah. Is that it? Oh, is it we now?
Well,
just discarding all impartiality.
No, well, I don't remember playing for Hearts.
So. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I've got to mention, it was great today, Ruppy, out there at the Hampden Museum. We saw your plaque. You're in the Hall of Fame. You're actually on a wooden board as well for 53 caps. Anybody above 50 caps, you're in that particular group as well. Then you had the painting there. It was a tribute to you.
Yeah, I thought it was tremendous. You know, that they managed to get 2 saves that I did in the 20 years in the sort of a montage.
Absolutely. And 3 replays of those particular 2 saves.
More haircuts and saves.
Exactly. If you do get a chance, you should go along to the Hampden Museum. It's just got it's a great history. Just look around the game as well. And there's a fabulous section, which I know you're involved in, which is helping people with dementia who seem to have this grasp of great games, of the past that just seems to jog their memory and help them in other ways, Rob. You're involved in this?
Yeah, I do. Partick Thistle do it once a month. You can go along there every month, and it's great. And what they do is they just fire out cards on the table of past players, and it seems to just twig the imagination and obviously the memories as well. And it's amazing, you know, some of the not well-known players, just players that played with that particular club that certain individuals pick up on, and Scotland do it as well in the Hall of Fame, which is great.
Yep, absolutely. Get along there if you can, if you've got one of those spare days. A couple of points I want to get your thoughts on. Kilmarnock are going to have to look at a new manager. Lee McCulloch will be in the frame. Gary Holt added his name over the last 24 hours as well, saying he was interested in it. Mark?
Yeah, he's been linked with Kilmarnock a couple of times. Also a great servant, part of the cup winning team 20 years ago, Peter, in 97. So yeah, he's back up the road, and he's certainly been in the frame. I would imagine that Lee McCulloch is in the driving seat, but I think Lee McCulloch made the most poignant point, whether it's him or somebody else. What's got to happen now is give somebody a run at it, give them a chance to grow the club, to get to know the supporters, to win back the supporters, put on their own brand of football. Can you think back to Kilmarnock's most successful times in the past 20 years? Bobby Wilson was there for a number of years, Jim Jeffries was there for a number of years, so you can't go chopping and changing your manager every 9 to 15 months. It just doesn't work.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, that will undoubtedly develop as the week progresses. Malky Mackay, the Director of Football at Scotland now, was out and about today. He was out at Bradehurst High School in Motherwell, just basically outlining the way ahead, this Project Brave. He's going out, taking it right across the country and trying to get the message across to everyone. He was talking first and foremost about the benefits that our game could feel if we actually embrace the reserve team football again. This is what he had to say about that.
You can only benefit from playing alongside experienced players, playing against the challenge I gave you there about Barry Ferguson playing against Peter Grant coming back from injury and playing in the reserves, a 17-year-old Barry Ferguson. The challenge is there against men, and the experiences that you've got against senior seasoned pros, as opposed to just playing against 20-year-olds. A 20 versus a 20-year-old here. So that's going to be hopefully something that we feel longer term going forward could be of benefit to helping the young player prepare to get into the first team.
Well, I'm backing Malky on this, but this is us just rectifying the mistakes of the last 20, 30 years. We do away with these things, and then all of a sudden we think, well, we actually had it right the last time around, we'll just go back to that. Yeah,
well, I mean, I think if you speak to a number of coaches involved in our game and managers, they seem to think, obviously, the first team's there. You've got the development under 20, and then you've got the pro youth. Now, the pro youth seems to be good, Peter. It seems to have good coaches. It's all well structured. What a number of coaches feel the problem lies in between when you leave pro youth and that gap to the football. The under 20 development league is not. There's just not enough fight, and it's not competitive enough. So they have to address that issue, that kind of year or two in between. And I'd go along with that. You're right, mistakes of the past. But if we rectify them properly, it's about what could come of that in the next 10 or 20 years. But Malky Mackay is an excellent appointment. Tough job in his hands. You could say it's a poison challenge, a poison chalice. He's not hiding to nothing. But he's a grafter. He knows his stuff. He's well liked, and if there's one guy that can get it right and drive us forward, it's him. Yeah, I'd like him to stick to his own blueprint rather than everybody saying, let's copy the French, the Germans, the Dutch, you name it. Just stick to the blueprint, get people playing football, get greater numbers of them playing it. I'm not so sure, and I just take a slight issue. I think if anything, the pro youth has to be looked at because of the numbers that they have all playing it, and then there's a huge dropout from the pro youth trophy that a number of people have been quite scathing about. Yeah, I think that's something he really has to sort out. But I do like the reserve football. You know, I just cast my mind back when I played my first game with Thistle. I was 16 and it was a reserve League Cup game. It was at Ibrox. And what happened, I know we've rejigged the League Cup, and I think we're doing it again this year, aren't we? And when the League Cup was running, there was a reserve League Cup ran at the same time. Yeah. And you were coming up against guys like Alec MacDonald and guys that had went into the reserve team at Rangers or Bertie Auld, and you were playing against these experienced guys and you were only 16, and it was something that you have to handle, and if you can handle it earlier, you feel more confident as you get more experience in the game. But I think definitely the reserve team football's the way ahead.
Okay, just before we go, lads, there's hope for a comeback for you. I had a look at the Sutton United goalkeeper, Mark, and he's following the same plan that you and I are following at the moment. It's a lot of carbs and there's not a lot of work rate. so I think Arsenal could hit 4 or 5 in the cup game.
Peter, I fear for him when you showed with the goalie. I fear for him. You know, but I hope he does well. I mean, he's going to be under serious pressure in this game, but what a size the big is. What a size.
I mean, actually, at one point, I think you summed it up perfectly. I don't even think he would have got a game in our 5-a-side match. That's how bad it was. But listen, he's a great shot stopper, as they say.
Let's not talk about the fight. As long as he shakes hands with the boys at the end of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
There's no danger anybody would be guilty of a lack of sporting integrity on this show.
Sure.
Ruffy, Man City, Monaco, who's winning that one?
Man City.
Man City.
Yeah. Bayer Leverkusen, Atletico.
Atletico.
Bayer Leverkusen, a draw on this one, but Atletico to go through.
Okay, there you are. A wee bit of opinion to finish it all off as well. Okay, Mark and me will go for some pasta and ice cream as well to keep it all going. You know, tick over till tomorrow at 7. Good night.